investing in yourself, whether it's time-wise or financially, but investing in yourself and your growth and understanding who you are and where you're at and what you need as an individual and what feeds you and what pulls you down. So that is huge, I think, that area of self-development, learning about yourself, connecting with yourself, because many people have no idea. They have no idea. It's just a series of, this is all flying at me, I just deal with all of this, and, you know, not feeling great about things.
Parenting and entrepreneurship, two of life's more demanding roles. What happens when you try to balance both? Welcome to the Parentpreneur Show, giving you an honest look into the lives of parents juggling family and business. I'm your host, Michael J. Christian. As a parent with my own entrepreneurial pursuits, I know that the constant struggle of trying to do everything. But I also know the joy and pride of providing for my family whilst building something of my own. On this show, we talk with inspiring parentpreneurs about how they make it work, their stories of success, failure, balance, and sacrifice. We'll cover practical strategies, mindset shifts that allow these superheroes to somehow do it all. So if you're a parent feeling the pull between your family and your business, join me as we explore the rewards and challenges of juggling it all on the Parentpreneur Show. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today, Chloe Leibowitz. Good morning, Chloe. How are you? Good to see you.
Good morning. I'm very good, thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you very much for your time. So, Chloe, could you please introduce yourself and give us a little bit of your background on your journey as a life coach, entrepreneur, and parent?
Sure. So I have been running my own business in some form or another for about 15, 16 years now. And my family are all very much growing up and going off now. So I'm in a different phase to you. I know your kids are much younger than mine. But yeah, I about 12 years ago, got together with my husband, and between the two of us, we have 5 children. So it has been quite a juggle in terms of running my own business and having the headspace and the ability to do that. So for a little bit of background and context, before I had my children, I worked as a personal assistant in various different companies, and mainly in London. And I probably the highlight of that was I worked for a very successful entrepreneur called Michael Smith. He runs and owns the Calm app, that people use for meditation. And so he was a friend from kind of school days. He was my best friend's brother, and ended up working for him when he had his first company, which was called Firebox, and it was kind of gadgets and toys for guys, very kind of fun and young. So that was really interesting working for him and having it was a more free way of working. So I found being a personal assistant working in offices in very kind of just like standard corporate settings, very restrictive. So one of my main, probably my leading value is freedom. Okay. And I know you and I share that sort of philosophy of needing to have the discipline to have the freedom, but just that freedom to be myself. I think it was at a younger stage. I was pretty young then. I was only about 22, 23 when I worked for him, and not so sure of myself, quite a different character, you know, younger version of me. And I felt the normal working situation very restrictive and trapping. And I wanted that freedom. I wanted to be able to go places at times when a lot of people can't do it, you know, be out and about in the morning or whatever it is, choose my schedule kind of. So that was really eye-opening working for him. And I actually come from a background in terms of my family of entrepreneurs. I didn't realize this until about 5 years ago. I was looking back, I was doing some work with a PR person, and we were looking back at the childhood, and I realized that everyone in my life growing up had their own business. My dad always had his own business. My mum always worked for herself. Both my sisters have their own businesses, doing very different things. Uncles, aunts, everybody. And I hadn't really realized that before, but it made sense that actually I was then trying to put myself in this box of working for someone else within a very tight, you know, do the 9 to 5, and it didn't feel right. It felt so trapping. So that was huge. And then after I had my son, who's now nearly 21, I really fiercely did not want to go back to working in that sort of setting. I also had quite a personal change at that time. After I had my son, I lost a large amount of weight. I'd kind of always struggled with my weight, being overweight, and I had a moment. I had literally a flipping of the switch where I just didn't feel good in myself, and I just decided to make a change. And over the following year, lost a lot of weight, got much healthier, started walking. I would walk every day for hours. It was amazing for my head. And I moved into a place where I knew I didn't want to go back to working in an office. And actually, I wanted to be at home with my kids when they were young. I wanted to try and find a way of doing that. So I started training, and I know now as a life coach, this is not the best idea to just do what someone else suggests, but a lot of people started suggesting, well, you're really interested in this, what you're eating, and you've lost all this weight. Maybe you should be like a nutritional therapist or something. So I started researching, and that's actually what I did first. I trained as a nutritional therapist. And once I had qualified, which is when my daughter was then born, sort of 3 years later, started working with clients who also wanted to lose weight. But I would have a 1-hour session with a client, which would turn into 2.5 hours, and I would be chat, finding out all this stuff about what was going on behind the scenes, because it was never just about the food. So that turned into a passion of really trying to help these women that I was working with have a mindset shift, which then turned into investigating life coaching. Then I trained as a life coach, and I have been doing that in some form or other with women ever since. So very much started on the well-being side of things. Over time, I was networking a lot with women who are running their businesses. So that kind of morphed. Into working with women who were running their own businesses, supporting them, focusing on their well-being as well as the hustle of running their own business. They often had families, young children, so helping them find some sense of balance, although that is an interesting one. And then more recently, I ran a business with someone else. So on that basis, it was more of a community of women running their businesses, supporting them. And that was then, so about a year ago, I had a difficult decision to make, because that business was feeling very out of alignment with my real purpose and the way I wanted to work with women, and my message and how I wanted to. I felt like I lost my voice a little bit. So I made a difficult decision to part ways with the business partner I was working with. And so over the last year, I've been building back up my own private practice, and I focus very much now on women in midlife and helping them work out their identity at that point. It's a very transitional phase of life. It's something I'm very familiar with. I've got my own experiences that have built up over the last few years and really made me realize that this is it's a huge moment of potential. And a lot of women get very frustrated and feel like, oh, like I don't feel myself anymore. I don't know what I'm doing here. And they can kind of give up a bit and give into things. So it's getting them to get that spark back, get unstuck, get their mojo back, and start taking action and show themselves really what they can do and what life can be like. So that's my focus now. And I work with one-to-one clients, and I run events. I love speaking and getting in front of a bigger audience and lifting people and getting them to feel that energy and that potential and positive state, so they can really take hold of their life and do what they want to do.
So going back to the beginning, it sounds like your aha moment came from trying to scratch your own itch, and that over a period of time you've evolved into this, sort of Chloe Leibowitz, life coach that you are now, empowering the women. I know what you mean. It's a really interesting phase of life, because so much of identity is tied up in being a mom and a partner, or so on and so forth, that when the kids do kind of need you less, there's a sudden identity crisis, I guess. So
yeah.
is that kind of where you are now with the coaching practice? What kind of programs and services do you offer your clients?
My main service is I have a 3-month signature program that I work on, and it kind of encapsulates everything from going back to, so as you just said, this identity thing, our identity, and do you know, actually had an interesting conversation with my husband last night about this, because I don't actually think it's any different for men. I just really understand women, which is, you know, that's my focus. But I've had quite a few men lately tell me, and then my husband said that one of his friends said to him that he sees my posts on social media and it's like, I resonate with that. And my brother-in-law said to me in the summer, how come you just work with women? Because I read your posts and that's me, which is, you know, so interesting. And I think it's in a different way. So, you know, my husband was saying that often if we're talking very traditional roles, because we've had sort of fairly traditional roles here, whilst I have always been working away at my business, I have also taken like a bigger role in doing all the stuff with the kids. And he was saying that he and a lot of his friends or siblings even have had more that identity of being the provider and doing that 9 to 5 and doing the travel or whatever it is. So the women I work with, their identity has been shaped so much. I do work with women as well who haven't had children. Their identity in that similar way has been shaped by a career, by a passion that actually they may have fallen out of love with, or it's been the main thing. And they're like, what else is, I don't want it to all be about this. And for me, probably about, well, so my son's just gone into his 3rd year at university. My stepkids are all now at university, only got one left at home for one more year of school. And I didn't realize how much, you know, I thought, well, I'm going to be fine when I hit that phase because I'm used to my kids going and being at their dad's. I've got this business, I've got this passion that I'm doing. I've got all these other things going on. So I'm not going to feel that loss as much. I think we all think that we're going to be different to what actually happens. So I was really, really hit by it about 3 years ago when I started anticipating that my son was going to be going. And I experienced a lot of emotional upheaval, a lot of sadness, which I found very difficult to shift. And it's taken me a long time and a lot of exploration to work out how to do that in a healthy way, to feel the feelings and have that shift. But I really needed to look at what was like truly important to me and who did I want to be going forward. And I think people don't give themselves the opportunity to do that. So they're still viewing themselves as the parent or these other roles in their life. And we don't have the time necessarily when the family's younger and it's also busy to pour into ourselves the things that we really want to do for ourselves. And I think it's just such an interesting time where you don't really know what you want to spend your time doing when you're not just busy doing all the stuff for all the people and meeting everybody's needs and what they need from you, and you just get used to doing it and there's no chance to slow down. And I found these moments over the last few years of reconnecting to a younger me. And whilst there's so much that I grew out of as that younger version of me, there are also things that I felt like, wow, I realized I used to have a lot of creativity as a younger person, as a teenager in my early 20s. As soon as I became a mum and was like, okay, well, I'll be a mum and I'll study and I'll start this business and I'll do this, it's squashed. There's no time for it anymore. You don't even get the opportunity to think about it, let alone, oh, let's have a little go at this or see how this feels or take some time out for me to do this. So I think a lot of people will say, and I said this, I don't feel myself, I need to get back to me. And I think that is right, but it's a new version of you. And it's really tapping into that, what's important, giving attention to the things that are important to you. I think some people can really drift from their relationship and need to find ways to reconnect with that and look at the people that are in your life. How's that feeding you? Does that feel good? Or have you slipped into friendships or people that is kind of a settle situation that doesn't make you feel great, doesn't feed you, doesn't make you feel excited, and passion projects or what you do professionally? There's just so many things. And I think we get blinkered and we don't check in properly with how we feel, what's important, what we want to do more of or less of, and be more purposeful. And then there's the whole health side of things, which is a totally different subject, but very integral to what I do. So that 3-month program that I work on as my sort of priority that I like to work on with my clients is very much focusing on those core values, the limiting beliefs, the mindset and what they are choosing to focus on day to day, because I very much believe that those thoughts are a choice. A lot of people don't realize they are, and they're like, well, I can't help it because this is happening and that's happening, and I'm always thinking this. Is really getting them to become very in touch with what they're thinking and what actions they're then choosing. And you know, a lot of women will say, I'm not confident, I don't have the confidence to do this. So helping them to see that they do, they're just not used to flexing that muscle and doing the things that create the self-belief and getting out of the comfort zone. So it is it's very deep work, and it is amazing when they do the work and they start seeing the changes. They start, you know, after a week or two, like, oh wow, I realized that I keep saying this to myself, or this happens. And yeah, it's a journey, and it's very exciting when they get breakthroughs and shifts and start making those choices that really empower them. They empower themselves. I think often they can be looking for someone else to do that for them, but it's inside them. And when they take those steps, then they're like, oh, I can choose this, and I can do this for myself, which is kind of the magic. Yes.
I love that. The thing is, I often say this to people: you're under no obligation to be the same person that you were yesterday. And the thinking, one of my mantras is like one of the things where the kids even roll their eyes now in the house. It's like, you know, I say 2% think, 3% think they think, 95% would rather die than think. And that's how many of us just bumble through life, as you say, bad choices or convenient choices as opposed to the right choices. I mean, from what you've just been saying, Chloe, there's kind of three things that kind of jumped out. One of them is a glib comment, again, which I'm responsible for saying a lot. And it's when they go, oh, I can't do that, you know, it's different for me. And I go, yeah, you're unique like everybody else. Everybody thinks their little set of problems are unique. They're not. We're kind of, whether it's male or female, again, a lot of your stuff resonates with me. So I don't think that's you know, sort of a specific woman thing, but it helps obviously running a business to know, you know, have your niche. I think the other thing which I took away from that is that so many people make their choices or have their choices made for them externally instead of internally. And you just touched upon it there about the thoughts. I think it was originally, I heard it from Bob Proctor, the late Bob Proctor, where he said your thoughts become feelings, feelings become actions, and then the actions become reactions. You know, your feedback from the world is a direct consequence of what you've been thinking. Just follow the chain. So it's true. And the way, and I'm struggling with this even now, because, you know, as you said, my kids are a wee bit younger. Things are quite hectic. They're not fully sort of autonomous by any stretch, as much as the oldest would thinks he is. But I kind of sat there the other day on yet another AstroTurf watching football, and after a half hour's drive to get there, thinking, actually, do you know what? This is a privilege. This isn't a chore. This is actually a privilege, and I'm choosing to be here instead of in a 9 to 5 or being told what to do with my time. So actually, you know, suck it up, smile, and actually see it for the fun that it is. But you mentioned there about sort of the deep work that you have working with your clients. So it can be challenging, right? Running your own business, being an entrepreneur, and then layer on top of that life coaching, which is very emotionally involved. So how do you kind of find a balance between that, avoiding burnout, but also maintaining a sense of fulfillment? Because it can be, I reckon, even the nicest of clients, there can be quite a bit of energy vampirism going on.
So I have learned over my years of coaching to choose who I work with. I don't work with everyone who I have a call with to find out if we can work together. I can tell very quickly whether we're a good match. So I am very empathetic. I connect very quickly with people, with my clients, and I am a cheerleader for them. When we have that call in the initial stages, I make certain things very clear. One, that I am there to facilitate the conversation. I'm there to ask them questions and to get them to think outside of the box and differently to how they normally would. I don't have a magic wand. And And in between those sessions, we do have some sort of messaging contact. However, I'm not going to be there to take the action for them. So unless they are at the point where they're ready to put down any elements of being in victim mode, of having excuses and saying, I can't do it because of this, then I can't work with them. So, for instance, I had a voice note from a client yesterday, and we're doing some great work together, and she is juggling being a mum and running a business, and it's a great business. It has tons of potential, and she's making some really good choices right now. And change is hard, right? Doing things differently is hard, and it's kind of scary. And what I find is, always in my coaching sessions, that they buoy you up. And you probably know this, if you work with a coach or a mentor or whoever it is, you can be kind of down here and you could have had struggles with something. You can go into that session and just the conversation of possibility and doing something differently, it will buoy you up and it will bring you these good feelings. Then you go off from the session and life continues to happen. And I will often find in week 2 and 3 of working with a client, they'll come and they'll be like, well, I tried to do this and then this thing happened and that thing happened and I can't, and this person made me feel like this, which is an interesting one, which I could come back to. But I will then say to them, did you think because you decided to do the work and like decided to work with me and do things differently that the rest of life would stop happening? And they're like, oh, well, no. And we'll have the conversation about how this is about them thinking differently, choosing their thoughts, deciding that someone else can't make you feel a certain way. It's only if you let them. It's only if you allow that to happen. And building their resilience. So actually what they want is they want to be able to navigate that journey and be with their kids, run their business, be with the people they want to be with. But life is always going to continue to happen. That's just life. It does. And it's building having those tools and coping mechanisms that allow you to stay in the right place. So I had this voice note yesterday from the client. She's like, it was all going so well, and then this thing happened, and now I feel like this, and I left her a note back, and I quoted a Gabby Bernstein technique back to her, and I said, like Gabby says, choose a better feeling thought, because she was choosing to focus on the thought that this thing has just happened. That means this. It's made me feel like this. I'm like, choose a better feeling thought. Go back to how you were feeling about these things yesterday that were happening that would make you feel, yeah, it's going in the right direction because I'm this. And actually, this is very frustrating, yes, but it's a learning. And actually what it's shown you and what you've already said now in this message is, maybe this isn't aligned with me right now. It's actually causing me much more hassle than it's worth. And it could be something to let go, just not now. And it's that whole process of getting them to tap into that. What am I choosing to focus on? And where am I giving away my power? So I think in those moments, we give away our power and we think that everything else, it's all happening to us and coming at us and making us feel like this. And it's finding the ability to rise above that and think, actually, I do have control over this and I can choose where to focus my energies. And that is something to master over time. And we don't always get it right. But I don't always get it right, and these things can come in and knock me sideways. But you do start to feel more empowered and more able to handle all these different things if you can notice, oh, that's where I'm going. I'm being reactive to this. I'm allowing it to just take over and knock me off my stride. So, do something different. Get up, go out, go for a walk, get some fresh air, speak to a friend or a cheerleader or supporter who will get you in the right headspace and shift things around. But being mindful and noticing what's happening and doing something really purposeful to shift that and take the power back is so important. So I choose to work with clients who want to do the work, who are really committed to their change. So we'll have this conversation beforehand. I will ask them certain questions. I will find out how committed they are to making the change, because ultimately I want to work with people who really want to commit and make the change. And I will support them through that as long as they're in that space to do it.
Yeah. So do you think resilience is a lost art form, or it's a teachable skill? Because I think a lot of what you said does come down to a resilience. If you could be knocked by life's outrageous, fortunes,
Yeah, I think it's totally learnable. I think we just get into habits. We get into habits and we're very reactive. Something happens. Oh, it makes me feel like this. A lot of people as well can get used to very negative processes. So I don't know, the person who misses the alarm clock in the morning and then wakes up and gets out of bed and stubs their toe, and then their something breaks or they drop their coffee or they get stuck in, and like, oh, this always happens to me. Always, this is like, I might as well have not bothered getting up this morning. And then they will go and tell that to a colleague in the office or a friend that they meet. Oh, and you're just amplifying the struggles and the challenges, whereas we don't have to do that. So, building resilience is this self-awareness.
Yeah.
Self-awareness and understanding where we sabotage ourselves, where we trip ourselves up, where we choose to pick a negative feeling thought pattern and talk that up and lean into it more. Why would we want to do that? So I think, like, for me, I think I've grown in resilience, definitely. I think, if I go back to times where we've had very challenging times with our big blended family and interesting times over the year, and wow, I used to have a real lack of self-awareness as far as that was concerned. And I was in, I've been in, and this is the thing, this is why I can relate so well to the clients. Like, I've been there, I've done that. I have done that so much. I have been in the space where I've had these 5 kids and I've had, teenage girls who now, like, a total blessing. I adore them and we have great relationships. But my God, I had tough times where they would push my buttons and they didn't necessarily want me to be looking after them, taking them to school, doing all this stuff. So things would happen, then I would go off and I would speak to a friend and be like, she said this to me and that happened and blah, blah, blah. I didn't realize how much I did that over quite a long stretch of time. I mean, some of it was very challenging and many people would have that reaction, but it is a reaction. I was reacting in situations. I wasn't responding. I wasn't choosing that response. I wasn't noticing how I was behaving. And it's so easy to do that. And it takes time to build self-awareness and think, hang on a minute, like, what am I doing here? And you can whip up so much negativity. You can spin things in any way you want. It takes real strength and the ability to acknowledge that you're not doing everything in the right way. Like, actually, I could have a lot more control over this, but the only bit of it I can control is me. So I could never change. I could never change how everyone else was behaving, but the way I was behaving in response was not helping.
Yeah.
And it wasn't helping me, and it was keeping me very, very stuck and very sad and very stressed. So that was a huge turning point for me to realize, actually, if I work on myself and I control my responses and I pull back in some situations and protect myself from that energy, I need to be around that less. I need to find ways to protect myself and not let that in. But I also need to not talk about it all the time and not make that stress and negativity bigger than it needs to be.
Not
so that
give
was a
it the
massive
attention.
learning to me. Yeah.
It's good. Two words that I use a lot with my kids and clients is react and response. I mean, react, and it's very, you break it down, it's you're reacting, you are acting over the same thing again and again. But like, was it Oscar Wilde who said, that's the definition of stupidity, expecting a different outcome but doing the same things. It can go one of two ways there, and I think you fall into one or the other camp, and unfortunately the positive camp is I think in a minority. But when something is confronting you, you can either choose to respond and go, okay, I have some control over this, or you can choose to react and go, poor me. I wrote the other day about yes butism. It's like an illness. Yes but, yes but, yes but. It's like, wow, okay, that's really disempowering. So
yes,
loads of gems there, and like, sort of bombs of advice. But if you were to give just 3 pieces of advice to women looking to take control and design the life that they want, what would they be?
Oh gosh, take control and design the life they want. Well, the first one would be that you have to get to know yourself, and you have to get to know yourself where you are now to build that self-awareness, to really take a good look at everything that's going on, and how, you know, who are you, what's important to you, and how are all these different things impacting on you, and what feels good, what feels bad. But I don't think many people, you know, that stuff that I was just talking about, and I didn't do all of that by myself. I didn't have all of those realizations by myself. I got help, you know, whether it was therapists or coaches, and I think many people are reluctant to even acknowledge that they might need the help. They see that as something stigmatizing, like why should I, like, maybe not wanting to see a therapist, they see it as a negative thing, which I see as a very positive thing, and continue to do it for various different reasons. And coaching, a lot of people will say, well, why do I need a coach to know how to live my life? I should be able to just do that by myself. So I think that investing in yourself, whether it's time-wise or financially, but investing in yourself and your growth, and understanding who you are and where you're at and what you need as an individual, and what feeds you and what pulls you down. So that is huge. I think that area of self-development, learning about yourself, connecting with yourself, because many people have no idea. They have no idea. It's just a series of, this is all flying at me, I just deal with all of this, and, you know, not feeling great about things. So that's one thing. Get to know yourself, explore, discover, because that's when you can find real growth and empowerment to do the other things. Because the other thing I would say is spend time having some expansive thinking about what you want your life to look and feel like. So I'll always, with my clients at the beginning of our journey, work on their vision, their future vision. You know, what do they want life to look and feel like, and why do they want it to look and feel like that? What's it going to bring for them? Because guaranteed as well, through the coaching journey, we'll get these conversations of, oh, why am I even doing this? People always say it, like, why am I even doing this? And then we go straight back into, and I'll say, why are you doing this? And then they're like, oh, well, and then we go back to, I often get my clients to create a vision board right at the beginning. I get them to create the vision board as a visual representation of what they would love in their life. And I've got my vision board out there, but mine will always have these different areas, whether they feel really good right now or whether they're a challenge right now. It's all on there, and it could be images and words, but I will have things always about my relationship to and family life, to maintain a focus on that. And years ago, the stuff I was talking about with our combined kids, when it was really challenging, I still made sure I put these pictures of all 7 of us on the board, even though I found some of those relationships challenging at the time. But it was because I knew how I wanted it to feel. And fast forward to now, you know, that this family who's now growing up and going off, there's a huge pride point for me. It's something I feel so proud of, that we had the grit to get through that and deal with the issues, sometimes well, sometimes not so well. But I look back at it as a really interesting thing now, and I'll tell my clients about that with the vision boards. If they've got challenging things, like certain relationships they're trying to work on and they want to be better, I might sometimes, if it sits with them, okay, get them to include that, because that's what they're aiming for, and they know why and how that's going to impact in the different ways on their life and how it could look. And then professionally, I'll always have an area professionally of things that I want to do, and get excited about those and the possibility of what those could be. Health and wellness, and the impact of that on everything else is huge. The impact on the relationships, the impact on the professional stuff, the impact on your family life, home life, travel. But it's expansive thinking. It gets them excited about, yeah, I want these things to be happening, because then you can work back from there and think, okay, like, what's the first thing that we're going to work on to get towards that? So that, creating that vision, and I'll often get them to do in conjunction with that what I call like a manifesto, and just write about a perfect, like an ideal day or week or at this point in time, as though they're already there, as though they're already doing it, and how they feel about that. So it's all linked into this why. So I always work with my clients, and I would always say that is a great thing to work on, is your vision for the future and why you want it to be like that, because it keeps you going through the more challenging times.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Did I tell you two?
Yeah,
one more. Two things. One more. I would say that it would be something around these, like getting in touch with your feelings. So don't do guilt. It's pointless. It's so pointless, and it tortures people, and like, oh, but I feel really bad because of this, and it might be about the kids or the balance of things, but don't do, it's just pointless. Listen to your gut. And if you're making a decision around something, I don't know, maybe it's to do with following something that lights you up, but you've got the balance of the family, and how's this going to impact on the different, listen to your gut. I know that I have had times where I've made decisions and had a little thought of like, oh, I'm not really sure about this, but I've pushed it down and ignored it. And always in the end, I will get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. It didn't feel right. There was something about it. So just tune into your gut, and don't feel the guilt. Like if we're talking about following your passions, running a business, juggling that with a family, you are kind of role modeling all the time. And with my kids, I've felt plenty of times where I thought, oh, I should be doing XYZ, or how are they going to feel? Like, do they feel abandoned, or am I doing too much of this or not enough of that? And now, my kids are 18 and 21, and also with my stepkids as well, I've had some really nice feedback and comments from them in more recent times. They feed off your energy. And if you are feeling those negative emotions of guilt or sense of duty or any of these kinds of things, they will pick up on that. If you're living with passion, they'll kind of be on that journey with you. And my kids, like, I feel like my kids are so proud of me now. And when I do some of the things I do and they see what I'm doing, it's inspiring to them. And I think it's great, especially when they get older, that they see us as this multi-dimensional person and not just their mom or their dad. And I think most of us want our kids to grow up and flourish and have opportunities and not feel like they have to fit this certain mold of being a parent in this way, or having a job in this way. And I think, yeah, I don't know, having them along on the journey, being relatively open with them about certain things, but I think them seeing you enjoy your life and have a passion and do things that are also for you is really important, and shouldn't feel guilty about that.
No, absolutely not. Do you involve the kids? Have the kids or your family or ever been involved directly with the business, or has it always been sort of vicariously and absorbing the happy vibes and the lessons?
Well, I mean, more lately, I've done a couple of events recently where I've brought my daughter along with me. So she's going to be 18 in a few weeks, and she is a gorgeous person, and she is super personable. She's amazing, just like talking with I think you've met my daughter.
I've met
anyway, yeah. But she has this way with people. People love her, and she I was juggling this event and thinking, God, how am I going to fit this in? And then she's going to be doing this, and then I was like, do you want to come with me, and can you help me? Can you greet people and tell? And she's like, yeah, definitely. And she came and she took some great photos for me that I could use on social media. And actually, she gets it, and she's young and she's doing social media and stuff, so she's super helpful in that sense. So she was involved in that, and that was a moment for me, because she's there. I'm getting actually lovely feedback from people. Oh, is that your daughter? Wow, she's lovely. And then I'm in flow doing my thing and talking to this group of 30 women that I had about them uncovering that vision and speaking to their future self and working out their purpose and stuff. And at one point I looked around, and I've got people writing things down, and I looked around, and my daughter is there, and she's got a bit of a tear, and she just looked at me and she's like, wow. And afterwards she's like, Mom, you're so inspiring. Like, all those women are just listening to you, and you can see like this. And that's amazing for me. Like, that makes me feel emotional now, but that's amazing for me. She finds that inspiring. And that was me getting out of my comfort zone as well. Like, I love doing things like that, but there's always the element of fear and nerves and all of that kind of thing. But that's showing her that, you know, she knew that. I'm talking to her before and like, wow, this, like, I am nervous. And she's like, you can do it, mom. You like, and she has that kind of side of things from me. But yeah, I would say these days that they're pretty involved. I've always told them about everything, and they've seen certain things that I've done. And I think my son, he has this same positive sort of outlook that I have. And that a year ago, I had a little wobble, and coming out of this business I ran with someone else, it kind of made me lose my spark. And I was really wondering, like, what am I doing here? Do I want to carry on doing this? Have I? And I'd really just lost my direction because I'd lost my voice and my way of doing things. And I went for a long walk with him before taking him back up to uni. And I was kind of voicing this sort of stuff. And he just said certain things that just started my thinking going. And he's like, Mom, you know, there are people out there who love hearing what you've got to say. And he just sparked something in me that made me think, yeah, I really want to tap back into that. And I think I have gained enormously from sharing a lot about what I'm doing in the business and having their support and encouragement. I think they've found it exciting. About 5 years ago, I was on a panel and speaking alongside Theresa May when she was Prime Minister. And it was like one of these crazy moments where afterwards I was like, oh my God, like, did that actually happen? And she quoted me when she was speaking. And afterwards, the kids are just like, God, and my husband. And that's magic. I think when I feel that they feel a sense of pride in me, that lifts me enormously. And yeah, I feel that I've probably done it more and more as my kids have got older, but speaking to them more in a way that they see me as a human being, a multidimensional human being, and not just their mum, in those ways. And they understand stuff about that, you know, the working world and things, and just seeing people. Yeah, I think it's something special, and it's a great way of just building more bonds and inspiring them as well to go and explore things and do things that are scary, and know that you can sort of take those chances.
I think that's the real inspiration for whether it's clients or children, is to show that you can do it as well. There is absolutely nothing to stop you. And I think so. I don't coach. I was just kind of relay my experiences. So it's kind of more mentoring, and it's kind of a little bit of tough love when I speak to people. But for me, you're no different. Just find someone who's got to where you'd like to be right now. And it can be someone amazing and inspiring and famous, someone from history, or someone in your local community, and just go and either speak to them if they're a real person, i.e. within, you know, contactable, or read everything about them, listen to everything they've ever done, and just go, oh, okay. And you think, wow, it really is that simple. There's a lovely analogy, which is very appropriate for our hometown, Marlow, which is a big rowing town. Whatever you do, I say to my kids, I say, does it take you closer or further from your goal? And the British Olympic rowing squad, they had this mantra was, will it make the boat go faster? You know,
I've heard that.
Isn't it fantastic? It's like, right, we're going to go out and have a party tonight. Will it make the boat go faster? No. Okay, we are going to change our training program on our nutrition to increase our calories. Will that make the boat? So it's either it's black or it's white. It's 1 or 0, you know, binary. And that makes it so simple. Life is really that simple. You find something that you're passionate about, you have a healthy life, you keep moving, and you just crack on. And that's kind of really it. And to be able to inspire people, whether they're your kids or whether they're your clients, I think that's such a sort of a passion project to be proud of.
Yeah. And yeah, like you just said then, just to be able to have those conversations, and you can't go and do it for those people, but I just think the more conversations people have in an expansive way like that, I mean, think how many people are having conversations with people who are like, really, do you think you could do that? Oh, why would you want to do that? Isn't that a bit risky? I mean, I've had that a lot. I've had calls with people who are like, well, I would love to do all of this stuff, and actually I'd quite like my future to be different, but friends kind of make me feel like, why would I do that? And shouldn't I just be happy with the status quo? And I mean, that is that is can I add a fourth to my three?
Yeah, go for it. Absolutely.
Who you surround yourself with. Who you surround yourself with is so important, and the energy that you are sitting with or bringing in. And some people, I think they know that, well, this is a bit toxic or a bit negative, but often people don't feel empowered to think, do you know what, actually I could do with some distance from that person, or I'm going to choose not to share this with them because I don't think they would understand. I think they would, I'm very careful who I share what I'm doing with, because I know that there are people who will absolutely encourage and build me up and make me feel invincible and like, yeah, do it, go on, like, because I know I'm going to have to try things, and some things will work and some things won't, and you got to keep taking those steps. But some people stay so stuck because actually they're surrounding themselves with people and energy that keeps them that way. So it's that old saying about you're the combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So be really careful about who that is.
100%.
And it's the same, like, when you're running your business, that whole energy thing, like find your tribe of people, find people who lift you. For me, it's super important. I need to get out. I need to go networking and find nice people who are open and want to chat, and not even with anything in mind. Like if I go networking, I love going and just having a morning out and having a chat with people and finding out about them and what they're doing, and perhaps you find potential collaborations or interesting opportunities or people you might want to work with. But ultimately it shifts my energy, and I don't want to just be sitting behind a laptop like doing stuff. And it doesn't help you grow, and it doesn't bring in the right energy. But also definitely be choosy about who you share with, and share with people who are going to encourage you and be your cheerleader, because you absolutely need that. And you don't need someone who's going to question it and say, are you sure about that? Why would you do that?
100%.
Yeah,
I don't think you ever get criticized by people who are doing more than you. It's only by people who are it's the crabs trying to pull you back into the bucket,
Yeah. And I always say that. I say, when clients say things like that to me, oh, this person said this, and I always say, and do you think that's about you? And they will always realize, like, oh no, it's not. That's their stuff.
It's their paradigm. It's their little programming. It's their operating
projecting
system.
It onto you.
Projecting. Absolutely. It's very true. It's interesting because, I agree with you. I've kind of made a career since I left formal employment, when I realized I was unemployable, of connecting people. My tagline for my consultancy is connecting people has real value. And literally, give me a call and they say, oh, I've got this problem or I've got that problem. Do you think you can help us? And if it's a no, I'll say no. That's really not my wheelhouse. It's not my sphere of interest. But if it's if I think I probably do know someone, give me 24 hours and I'll see what I can do for you. And then you say there might not be instant gratification, but somewhere down the line you've chucked a pebble into the universal pond, and those ripples will start coming back to you. So that's good. I love that.
Yeah,
really, really good. So you're obviously very inspiring yourself, but have you got any kind of really inspirational people or quotes or anything like that? Give me a couple if you do.
Oh gosh, do you know, I feel like I find inspirational people all the time. So I'm currently working with an amazing coach, and I've been doing her mastermind, and I've just been on one of her business retreats, and I've been surrounded for the last 3 days with inspirational women, and women who have got expansive mindsets. They've got big dreams. They're excited about life, and I've literally come away in this bubble of inspired energy and feeling so connected and supported. And I feel like I'm very fortunate to meet quite a lot of people like that. And my coach that I've been working with, she said at one point, and I wrote it down in my notes, she said, if opportunity isn't knocking, go and build a door.
Nice.
And, there's a lot of things that I desire to do now and opportunities that I want, and I'm going to need to create some of those. I need to go and ask people and put myself out there and not be held back by the fear of, like, what if they say no? Well, what if they do say no? That's okay. That's the worst thing that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Is no, don't contact me again. I can deal with that. So I love quotes like that that stop you closing down your opportunities. And I am inspired by very different people. So I find Stephen Bartlett's super inspiring. I listen to his podcast all the time. I was reading his new book, The 33 Laws of Business and Life, on my way to and from this retreat. And he has got this incredible wealth of knowledge from all of these people that he's interviewed, like everybody. He got like 700 hours of interviews or something crazy. And so he's kind of so inspiring in the sense that for me that he, you know, you can read anything and learn anything and keep creating these opportunities and keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And I find that very inspiring, just to be open and curious and kind of challenge your own limits with things. And he talks a lot about, which I've been very interested in recently, just this whole thing about not lifespan but health span, so focusing on your health for later in life. And he always talks about this thing and how he was with his girlfriend and they went on this walk to go on a boat trip or something. They had to go down these really steep steps, and he realized that his dad, who I think he said was in his 60s or something, wouldn't be able to do this, and therefore wouldn't be able to go and enjoy this experience of doing this thing because he just wouldn't have the physical strength. And you know, he puts a lot of time and energy into his physical strength and stuff. So that kind of thing I find inspiring as well. It's got such a huge knock on what you can then do professionally or with your family or in life generally. And another big inspiration for me is, I already mentioned her, but Gabby Bernstein, and her journey, where she came from. She was an addict and had just a moment, and she's extremely spiritual, and she is all about the mindset and tapping into your possibility. And anything like that for me, it's just anything that challenges you and stops you from limiting yourself and realizing the huge possibilities out there. And anything is an option. Anything, just tapping into knowing you want to do it and not putting limits in your own way, being brave.
I love that. Yeah, I mentioned the yes butism is earlier. The thing that I've tried to swap it out in my own head, but with talking to my kids or other people, swap the yes but for what if. You know, one is restrictive and shut down, the other one is expansive and opening. Yes. And that's what you spoke about doors. You used the door analogy earlier. I think that's what it is. It's about knocking on doors and windows and throwing pebbles at people's panes at midnight, you know, all of that sort of stuff. That's and that's fun. That's why doing what we do is great fun, because you are not constrained by a boss, a company, or anything like that. You think you want to go off on that tangent? Great, let's do that. I mean, all this change can be scary even when it's positive. So how do you strike the right balance between pursuing new opportunities and maintaining some sort of stability?
For me, or for people in general?
Well, for you, and then what you'd kind of perhaps advise people in the same situation.
I think that for me personally, it's about being very aware of the messaging that's going on and making sure that you're not telling yourself that you can't do something. You know, it's really easy to fall into that trap and actually have that subconscious messaging going on of, could I really do that? And who am I to do that? I feel much more in a space myself over the past year or so of acknowledging the big, scary, but really exciting things that I want to do, and giving myself permission to do them. And, you know, who am I not to do that? Because I know that there are people out there actually who love my energy and my message, and I want to share that, and I want to put that out there. And I think too many people question themselves, feel like for some reason they shouldn't step into who they are or put that out there, because we learn as kids, well, don't blow your own trumpet. Don't talk about what you're good at. Don't, come on, you know, be just hide your light. Don't go out there and shine, because people don't like that. And I think that's a huge disservice. I think people should get in touch with what they feel is their passion, in whatever way that is. So I think it's great to be constantly doing that thing of looking at that vision. What is it you really want to do, and keep moving yourself forward, because otherwise we can stagnate. So we can do a certain amount of stuff and think, well, that's fine. But what could the possibilities be beyond that? And I think when you're pushing yourself and moving forward, that's when you can keep being excited and keep bringing the energy. And otherwise, I think we can really end up looking back and thinking, wow, what would life have been like if I'd been brave enough to do that? And I don't want to feel like that. And that's what I'm passionate about. The women that I work with, a lot of them will say that, like, I have always wanted to do XYZ, and I just feel like it's never going to happen for me, and I'm going to really regret that when I get older. And I don't want anyone to feel like that, because if we have the right support and the right tools and the right mindset, we can learn that, yeah, it's scary, and yeah, some people might not like it, but actually, fuck it, because what, that they might not like it, but they're not your people. And actually, those other people over there could love it, and you could make a massive difference to their life or to the people around you. So you've got to take those chances.
Regret is my biggest fear driver. You know, I've obviously got the big whys and the goals to go forwards, but regret, looking back and thinking, Christ, what a waste of a life, is massive. How would you, I mean, kind of off on a tangent here, how would you deal with the haters? Because there are haters. One of the reasons I really held off doing this, starting a podcast and getting my face out there, apart from the fact that I've got a face for radio, was like, how do I deal with any negative comments? How do you?
So I haven't, I think this is the case for many people. I haven't experienced any negative comments. It's our fear of negative comments. It's our fear of what people are saying about us behind our backs, or like, oh, and as we said earlier, that's not about us. That's, if those people are triggered, they are triggered because of something that's going on with them. Maybe it's something that they would have liked to do, but they don't have the confidence to go out and do it. Or maybe we're talking about something that they know they should really be addressing for themselves, or it's something about them. And we have one life, one opportunity. And I know that I have spent time sort of hiding my light a bit and playing small, because I have feared the judgment of other people. And, you know, I've had personal experiences where, you know, people may have their own opinions of me, but at the end of the day, that's none of my business. And they say that if you are not pissing people off and you are not making some people hate you, you're not doing it right, because you don't want to be vanilla. You don't want everyone to like you. It's not going to land, and it's not going to draw in the people who love your energy and want that and share that passion. It's not. So actually, it's better to make the waves and piss some people off, because then you're going to draw in the people that love you, and you're going to really acknowledge your own potential and find your voice. And yeah, the further down the road I get, the more I think, like, you've just got to go and do that, because if you stop yourself because of what someone else thinks, what a waste.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always say it's like none of my business what other people think about me, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
that's so cool. I love that. Okay. I'm conscious of our time, so I should probably start wrapping up, although I could probably chat to you all day. But what are your big career goals as an entrepreneur and coach? Where do you see yourself heading?
Well, I very much want to use my voice more. I want to inspire more people. I love doing an event where, you know, when you're working with one person, that's amazing, and you can do this deeper work and work on these breakthroughs. And be with them over a period of time. But it's hugely powerful being in a room full of women, and just through maybe an hour, you have them all come in feeling one way, and literally feel the energy in the room change, a lot of emotion, and this new sense of possibility. And the follow-up after that, the feedback from speaking to a group for an hour and helping them shift their energy, be surrounded by similar positive energy and people who want to step out and they want to grow, and they maybe don't have the energy around them normally to do that. It's kind of mind-blowing. It is kind of mind-blowing that within an hour you can have people go off. And then I've got women contacting me a week later saying, I'm so glad I came to your event, because this and this has happened to me, and I felt really stuck with this, and for the first time in X many years I went out and I did this, and I feel so different. And this is, it can be like literally can be that pivot to change the outlook on life. So I have big ambitions to speak and to run the kind of events that will be life-changing for women. So my vision board at the beginning of this year was very much about retreats and speaking, and like my big dream is to I'm working on a book and
Wow.
journal, and I want to kind of get out there and be able to speak. I'd love to be on the This Morning sofa, just speaking to all those women and getting them to understand that they can do those things. And it might be a journey, but you just take that, today could be the day where you do the thing that could change the trajectory of life. It could change all of the possibilities. And my thing on my vision board is very much around retreats, and I will in the future spend time between here and California, where my husband's from, and we have a place out there. And yeah, I see myself running retreats in places like Sedona, where it's very spiritual, very grounding, but bringing in groups of women who do some deep work, but focus on their health and well-being, focus on their mindset, focus on their dreams and their visions, and literally have this transformational experience where they then go off and they're just setting off on a new path and feeling revitalized and empowered. Because once you can have that moment, but then feel like you have the power to do it for yourself, that's huge. So that all of that kind of stuff is in my future.
Awesome. I love that. So where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your coaching programs and services?
So I'm very active on Instagram, and I am Chloe Leibowitz on Instagram. So I'm sort of have posts and stories on there every day pretty much. And then there's a link in my bio which then goes through to other things. So you can sign up for my my newsletters and emails, and any events and things get posted on there as well. So yeah, that's the best place to find me.
We'll put those in the show notes, so
Amazing.
make sure people can find you properly. So Chloe, any final words of wisdom for women looking to build businesses and lives that they love?
Yeah, stop being so hard on yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself. Let go of the guilt. Go with the flow, because everyone talks about this balance. Let's get the work-life balance, and it just shifts and changes all the time. So just go with the flow more, but don't be afraid to say that you want things to be different. Don't keep yourself stuck by thinking, well, this is just the way it is, whether that's that your health feels crappy because you're perimenopausal or going through that transition, or you're sad because your kids are growing up and they're going to leave and you don't know who you are or what's going on. Get some help, speak to people, find the right energy. It's amazing how different you can feel and how much more you can feel the possibility of change if you start having the right conversations and find what inspires you.
That's so true. That's a wonderful way to end. So thank you very much for joining us today, Chloe. It was great to hear your stories and insights. So folks, that wraps up my inspiring talk with Chloe Leibowitz. Her journey shows that you can succeed in family and businesses with the right mindset and support. I hope her stories left you feeling empowered for your own parentpreneur pursuits. Focus on effectiveness, ask for help when needed, and show yourself some compassion. You've got this. So thanks to Chloe and to all you parentpreneurs listening today. Join me next time as we share more stories, tips, and inspiration to help you blend business and family with more done and less guilt here on The Parentpreneur Show. See you next time.